What if one war could go far beyond borders, beyond politics, and beyond anything the modern world is prepared for? What if a single conflict had the power to disrupt global oil supplies, shake international markets, destabilize economies, and push the entire planet into uncertainty? Today, the tensions between Israel and Iran are no longer just distant political disagreements or regional hostility. They represent a dangerous escalation that the world is watching with growing concern. This is not just about two nations standing in opposition. It is about decades of mistrust, competing ideologies, security fears, and regional influence now reaching a critical point. Israel views Iran's growing military capabilities and regional alliances as a direct existential threat, while Iran sees Israel's military dominance and its alliances with global powers as part of a long-standing pressure strategy aimed at containing its influence. Over the years, this silent tension has played out through proxy groups, cyber operations, strategic strikes, and political confrontations. But now the situation feels different, more direct, more intensive, and far more unpredictable. Around the world, governments are closely monitoring every development because any further escalation in the Middle East has the potential to affect global energy routes, especially oil and gas supplies that many economies depend on. Financial markets, already sensitive to uncertainty, react instantly to every headline, every missile test, every diplomatic statement, reflecting how interconnected and fragile the global system has become. In this unfolding situation, military movements, defense alerts, and strategic positioning are not just regional events. They are signals that carry global weight. The Middle East, already one of the most complex geopolitical regions in the world, becomes even more volatile when major powers and allied groups indirectly or directly become involved. As tensions rise, there is always the fear of miscalculation, where a single strike or response could trigger a chain reaction far beyond the original intent. This is what makes the current situation so dangerous. Not just the conflict itself, but the uncertainty of how it could expand, who might become involved, and how quickly diplomacy could fail under pressure. If escalation continues, the ripple effects could reach international alliances, energy corridors, trade routes, and global security structures that have taken decades to build. The world has seen how regional conflicts in the past have drawn in external powers, and the concern today is whether history could repeat itself on an even larger scale. At the center of all this is a rapidly evolving battlefield of technology, intelligence, and deterrence, where drones, missiles, cyber tools, and defense systems shape the balance of power in real time. Yet beyond the military dimension, there is a human reality. Millions of civilians living in uncertainty, hoping that diplomacy can hold stronger than destruction. As analysts and world leaders assess each move, the question remains not just what is happening now, but what comes next. Will this remain a contained confrontation managed through diplomacy and deterrence, or will it spiral into a broader regional war with global consequences? And more importantly, in a world so deeply connected through energy, finance, and security systems, is any nation truly isolated from the effects of such a conflict? This is the story unfolding step by step, not just of Israel and Iran, but of a world standing at a sensitive crossroads, where every decision carries weight, and every moment has the potential to shape the future of global stability. This didn't start overnight. This is the result of decades of deep geopolitical hostility between two powerful rivals in the Middle East, where tensions have slowly escalated through proxy conflicts, political accusations, and regional power struggles. For years, Israel and Iran have stood on opposite sides of an invisible battlefield, both accusing each other of destabilizing the region, with Iran being linked to support for groups such as Hezbollah and other regional allies, while Israel has consistently raised alarms about Iran's expanding nuclear program, warning the international community about potential threats to its security. Behind the scenes, both nations have allegedly engaged in covert operations, intelligence wars, cyber attacks, and targeted eliminations, all in the shadows to avoid full-scale open conflict. But everything reportedly changed in February 2026, when a major escalation took place as Israel, along with the United States, launched a large-scale surprise military operation known as Operation Lion's Roar, targeting key strategic locations inside Iran, including military installations, missile production facilities, and critical government infrastructure, marking one of the most dangerous turning points in modern geopolitical history. Reports suggest that this operation was not limited to infrastructure alone, as it also symbolically pressured the highest levels of Iranian leadership, pushing the situation far beyond traditional deterrence. What began as a long-standing cold conflict suddenly shifted into an open and highly volatile confrontation, sending shockwaves across global markets, international diplomacy, and security alliances. Intelligence agencies around the world scrambled to respond as global leaders were forced to reassess the stability of the entire Middle East, while media outlets described the situation as a breaking point that could reshape global power structures. In the aftermath, military bases were placed on high alert, missile facilities were reportedly disrupted, and government centers moved into emergency protocols, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and fear across the region. What shocked the world most was how quickly the situation escalated from warning signals to direct confrontation, with global analysts calling it not just another crisis, but a declaration that the rules of engagement had fundamentally changed. Now the world watches closely as tensions remain extremely high, diplomacy struggles to catch up, and the possibility of further escalation continues to loom, making this one of the most critical and dangerous geopolitical moments in recent history. In the heart of the Middle East, tension escalates into a level the world has never seen before, as Iran responds with overwhelming force, launching a wave of missiles and drones towards strategic targets across the region, while global powers watch in shock as the situation spirals beyond control. Within hours, the conflict expands as strikes are reported near Israel, US military bases in the Middle East, and key Allied positions, sending shockwaves through international defense systems and triggering emergency alerts across multiple nations. At the same time, one of the most critical choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz, becomes a focal point of global fear as naval movements and strategic blockades threaten the flow of oil that powers the world economy, instantly raising alarms in financial markets and energy sectors worldwide. As missiles light up the night sky and drone formations cross vast desert regions, Israeli cities come under direct attack with air defense systems engaging in continuous interception, creating a dramatic sky filled with explosions and sirens while civilians rush for safety. Reports also emerge of advanced munitions causing multiple impact zones, intensifying destruction and spreading panic across wide areas, signaling a level of warfare that goes far beyond conventional conflict. Meanwhile, US military installations across the region go into full alert, reinforcing defenses as aircraft prepare for rapid response operations, while allied nations activate emergency war councils and elevate military readiness to the highest levels. In global capitals, leaders gather in crisis rooms, staring at breaking news feeds and live satellite maps as the world edges closer to a wider confrontation. With markets collapsing, oil prices surging, and supply chains beginning to break under pressure, the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz sends immediate shockwaves through the global economy, halting oil shipments, disrupting shipping routes, and threatening entire economies with instability as the world faces the possibility of an energy crisis. As panic spreads through financial centers and trading floors turn red with losses, the conflict transforms from a regional war into a global emergency, with every missile launch, every naval movement, and every political decision pushing the world closer to uncertainty. And as dawn breaks over a tense and unstable region, military forces on all sides prepare for further escalation, leaving the world watching in silence as the message becomes unmistakably clear. This is no longer just a conflict, but the beginning of a full-scale geopolitical crisis, with consequences that could reshape global power, economy, and security forever. In the early phase of a rapidly escalating geopolitical crisis in the Far Middle East, tensions reached a level the world had not seen in years, as multiple nations were pushed into a state of emergency and uncertainty spread across borders, with military forces moving into defensive positions and entire regions placed under high alert. Across the opening days, the situation intensified as long-range missile activity and aerial defense responses lit up the night skies over several key locations, while major cities and strategic zones remained on edge, with governments issuing urgent security updates and civilians observing distant flashes on the horizon that reflected the seriousness of the unfolding conflict. As the crisis expanded, reports indicated coordinated defensive and offensive military actions across multiple fronts, creating a complex and highly unstable environment where communication systems, radar networks, and surveillance operations were pushed to their limits, and the skies over the region were repeatedly illuminated by fast-moving aerial objects and interception responses, symbolizing the scale of the confrontation. In several major urban centers resembling Tel Aviv and Tehran, emergency systems were activated as airspace security measures were enforced, with defense mechanisms responding to incoming threats, while populations in affected areas experienced heightened alert conditions and the overall atmosphere remained tense, uncertain, and highly volatile. At the same time, multiple military zones across the region were placed under sustained pressure, with infrastructure such as airfields, radar installations, and command facilities becoming central points of strategic importance, leading to widespread disruption and operational reassessment on all sides involved. However, after the initial intensity of the escalation, an unexpected shift occurred within the conflict dynamics as observable activity levels reportedly decreased significantly in certain areas, prompting analysts and command centers to reassess the situation, monitor intelligence updates, and investigate the causes behind the sudden change in operational patterns. During this phase, advanced surveillance and strategic operations were reportedly carried out by Allied defense structures, focusing on neutralizing key military capabilities such as launch infrastructure, unmanned systems facilities, and integrated defense networks, resulting in a notable shift in the balance of visible activity across the region. Despite these developments, it became increasingly clear through multiple assessments that even after sustained damage to infrastructure and reduced operational output, significant strategic capabilities remained intact within deeply secured and distributed systems, suggesting that the overall capacity for continued activity had not been fully eliminated. Underground facilities, reinforced storage networks, and concealed logistical systems were believed to still contain substantial resources, indicating that long-term strategic reserves were still available